It's been a rough few weeks for Elon Musk, with Tesla stock prices plummeting and dealerships being vandalized. As Fox 11's Christy Fajardo reports, today protesters demonstrated outside Tesla dealerships to share their wrath at the billionaire and his Doge activities.
Tesla didn't crash, it got ambushed. And the people who pulled the trigger, they weren't short sellers. They were governments. This wasn't some fluke earnings miss. This was a geopolitical hit job. And Elon Musk walked right into it. In less than 90 days, Tesla lost over $400 billion. Its sales in Europe collapsed by more than 70%, and Wall Street fled like the house was on fire. No one's telling you the full story, but we will, because this wasn't just a trade war. It was a trap, laid by Europe, ignited by Trump, and finished by Musk himself. So how did Tesla go from untouchable to uninvestable? Why are once loyal customers walking away in disgust? And what happens when Tesla's fall sets off a chain reaction across the entire auto industry? The European sales crash that started it all. Tesla's grip on Europe didn't slip. It was ripped away. Between January and March of the year 2025, Tesla's vehicle sales in the European Union collapsed by more than 70%. This wasn't a slow decline or a market correction. It was a full-blown rejection, swift, brutal, and loud. Germany, once Tesla's most loyal European market, saw a 73% drop in registrations. In France, it was 66%. Italy reported a staggering 70% collapse. These are not fluctuations. These are exits. And the numbers only tell part of the story. European consumers didn't just stop buying Teslas. They stopped trusting them. According to new surveys conducted by European Auto Watch, more than 60% of former Tesla owners cited loss of trust and negative brand image as the main reasons they were abandoning the brand. In a region that once celebrated Tesla's innovation, the company is now seen as politically toxic. Elon Musk's persona, once an asset, is now a liability. Comments like bureaucratic parasites and anti-innovation relics didn't just offend politicians, they alienated buyers. What was once Tesla's crown jewel has become its graveyard. The very market Elon Musk helped build now wants nothing to do with him. But the buyers weren't just angry. They were responding to something far bigger: Trump's tariffs, the hidden landmine in Tesla's strategy. On January 3rd of the same year, President Donald Trump signed an executive order imposing sweeping tariffs on foreign-made goods, including electric vehicle components. It was packaged as a patriotic protection of American industry, but the reality was far more destructive, especially for Tesla. The tariffs specifically targeted core materials and parts: lithium, cobalt, nickel, semiconductors, and battery packs. These weren't abstract supply chain elements. They were the lifeblood of Tesla's production. The new taxes added between 25 and 35% to the cost of critical components Tesla imports from Europe, China, and South Korea. For a company already navigating razor-thin margins and volatile logistics, this was devastating. While Ford and General Motors rely more heavily on domestic manufacturing, Tesla's global strategy, its very identity, was built on international integration. Gigafactories in Berlin and Shanghai, batteries sourced from Asia, raw materials from Africa and Latin America. All of it became more expensive overnight. Tesla faced an impossible choice: absorb the losses or raise prices. It tried both. Neither worked. The European Union responded with its own tariffs, specifically designed to hit American electric vehicle manufacturers. And while other brands adjusted by leveraging local supply chains, Tesla was exposed. The company had bet everything on a borderless world, and now that world was shutting its doors. What should have been a moment of strength for American-made electric vehicles turned into a global trap. Elon Musk's company was the first to walk into it, and what began as a consumer revolt was now setting Wall Street on fire. But it wasn't just price charts that sent a warning. It was who started walking away: the investor exodus and corporate abandonment. The moment the European sales numbers went public, institutional investors moved faster than anyone anticipated. Hedge funds began unloading Tesla shares by the millions, followed closely by mutual funds and pension managers. What had once been a must-have tech stock became a red flag overnight, and it wasn't just the usual skeptics backing out. This time, it was Tesla's biggest backers. Sovereign wealth funds from Scandinavia and the Middle East quietly slashed their exposure. High-frequency traders jumped ship. Even long-only funds, known for holding on to stocks through storms, started abandoning the company with barely a press release to explain why. Ratings agencies followed with swift consequences. The Royal Bank of Canada downgraded Tesla's stock to underperform, citing unquantifiable risk due to geopolitics, leadership unpredictability, and global backlash. Morgan Stanley removed Tesla from its top picks list, calling it no longer a reliable long-term play. Within days, this cascade of institutional doubt hardened into something worse: reputational decay. Traders began whispering that the era of Tesla as a growth monster was over. Behind the scenes, financial risk officers reportedly flagged Tesla as a volatile asset. Some hedge funds even shorted the stock, betting not just on a bad quarter but on a long winter ahead. The volatility wasn't purely financial. Elon Musk's increasingly erratic public behavior, controversial endorsements, and direct involvement in political flashpoints turned Tesla from a symbol of innovation into a moral hazard. Investors weren't just losing money, they were losing faith, and faith is the one currency Wall Street can't print. Elon Musk had become a wild card in a game that demanded predictability. His tweets, political allegiances, and policy positions had bled into the stock's perceived value. For many institutional players, the risk simply wasn't worth it anymore. They wanted distance, they wanted safety, and they were willing to leave billions behind to get it. Even the US government wasn't staying quiet anymore. We spent weeks pulling this story apart piece by piece. If that gave you real insight, is it fair to ask for a subscribe? US government steps in with a rare warning. On March 25th, the U.S. Commerce Secretary stood behind a podium and delivered a message Wall Street hadn't heard in decades. "We are increasingly concerned about the risks Tesla's leadership poses to American investors and our economic stability," she said. The room went silent. Reporters scrambled for follow-up questions, but the meaning was already clear. The government had just publicly called out Tesla as a national risk. It wasn't just about plummeting stock prices. The secretary cited three key concerns: Tesla's exposure to retaliatory tariffs, its collapsing European sales base, and Elon Musk's increasingly volatile political behavior. No euphemisms, no diplomatic hedging. The message was blunt. Tesla had become too unstable, too fast. Markets reacted immediately. Tesla's stock dropped another 6% within hours of the press conference. More damning than the price movement, however, was the psychological impact. For the first time, institutional investors had cover. They could exit their Tesla positions without second-guessing. The government had effectively signaled it's okay to get out, but the ramifications went further. Tesla's relationship with federal agencies, critical for everything from tax incentives to regulatory approvals, suddenly looked fragile. The company that once helped define green energy in America was now being talked about in the same breath as national security risks. Treasury officials reportedly began reviewing Tesla's overseas operations. The Department of Energy pulled back from future loan discussions. Political oxygen was being drained from Tesla's lungs, and Musk could feel it. This wasn't just an economic signal, it was a cultural one. Tesla was no longer bulletproof. It was no longer the golden child of American innovation. It had become something else: unpredictable, dangerous, and deeply controversial. And as Elon Musk watched the fallout unfold, he didn't dial back. He doubled down. But Musk wasn't retreating. He was tweeting. Elon Musk's tweets become economic weapons. In the middle of the chaos, Elon Musk turned to the one platform he still controlled: his social media account. But what should have been a damage control campaign quickly became a digital minefield. Rather than reassure investors or signal calm, Musk began tweeting increasingly aggressive takes. He mocked European regulators, accused the French government of economic sabotage, and called EU consumers entitled and disloyal. The timing couldn't have been worse. Every tweet hit the markets like a flashbang. Trading bots programmed to scan social media flagged the messages as high volatility signals. Within minutes, Tesla's stock would spike, then plunge, then stabilize, only to crash again hours later. Analysts called it the first real-time financial sabotage by a CEO in history. Elon Musk wasn't just reacting to the crisis, he was accelerating it. The tweets also drew the attention of regulatory bodies. The Securities and Exchange Commission reportedly launched a quiet inquiry into whether Musk's online behavior constituted market manipulation. International regulators in Europe called his statements dangerous and inflammatory. Consumer confidence surveys showed a 10-point drop in favorability toward Tesla every time Musk went on a Twitter rampage. It was as if every 140-character message translated into a $1 million brand hit. Internally, Tesla executives begged him to stop. Crisis PR teams were overwhelmed, engineers were demoralized, and partners grew increasingly silent on strategic calls. But Musk kept tweeting. He taunted the media. He took jabs at competitors. And most of all, he refused to acknowledge the reality unfolding around him. In doing so, he turned Tesla's last line of defense, his personal brand, into a liability so toxic that even die-hard fans started tuning out. The very force that had once made Tesla untouchable was now dragging it under. While America flinched, Europe went for the kill. Europe's revenge, how the EU crushed Tesla strategically. What began as a consumer backlash quickly evolved into something far more lethal, a coordinated economic strike by the European Union. In response to Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on European goods, the EU wasted no time retaliating. But they didn't just slap America with blanket import fees. They aimed their firepower directly at Tesla. Within days of Trump's executive order, the European Commission announced a series of targeted countermeasures. New import taxes on electric vehicles from the United States were introduced, ranging from 15 to 28%, depending on vehicle category. Tesla, as the most prominent American EV exporter, was hit hardest. These weren't just protective tariffs. They were surgical strikes designed to disrupt Tesla's cost structure and eliminate its pricing advantage. But tariffs were only the opening act. European regulators enacted emergency revisions to EV subsidy programs. Buyers could still get generous incentives, so long as their cars were assembled in Europe by manufacturers meeting sustainability and labor standards. Overnight, Tesla vehicles no longer qualified in key markets like Germany, France, and the Netherlands. Buyers who once received government support for a Model Y or Model 3 now saw their subsidies vanish. Meanwhile, domestic competitors like Volkswagen, Renault, and Peugeot were promoted with full incentive packages. The European Union's strategic assault wasn't limited to legislation. A coordinated media campaign swept across the continent. In Germany, national news outlets ran daily features, questioning Tesla's commitment to local labor. In France, headlines accused Elon Musk of arrogance in the face of global unity. The phrase "Buy European" began trending on social platforms, encouraged by subtle government endorsements and major influencer accounts. Tesla, once a symbol of innovation, was now painted as an opportunistic American exporter, profiting off European subsidies and insulting European values. The fallout reached Giga Berlin, the crown jewel of Tesla's European ambitions. Once hailed as the centerpiece of Tesla's global expansion, the Berlin factory now faced local regulatory delays, workforce attrition, and a complete freeze on planned incentive partnerships. Regional governments distanced themselves from the brand, and union leaders warned that Musk's rhetoric had made Tesla a toxic employer on German soil. Europe didn't just push back, they rewrote the rules. Tesla, the outsider, had been politically neutral for years. Now it was seen as the economic face of Donald Trump's trade aggression. And the European Union made sure everyone remembered it. And just when Tesla thought it could retreat to Asia, the next ambush began. Asia hits hard. China and Korea retaliate with precision. While the European backlash was swift, the Asian counterstrike was methodical and devastating. China moved first. Within 48 hours of the EU's response, Beijing unveiled a retaliatory tariff package specifically designed to cripple American electric vehicle exports. Tesla's shipments from the United States to China were suddenly subject to tariffs ranging from 15 to 30%, depending on component origin. Battery packs, aluminum frames, and semiconductors all saw sharp cost increases. But China's retaliation wasn't just financial, it was psychological. State-owned media began airing nightly reports accusing Tesla of exploiting Chinese consumers, questioning the safety of its autopilot systems and highlighting Musk's open support of Donald Trump's tariff policies. Regulators piled on. Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory was subjected to surprise environmental audits and labor inspections. Local authorities delayed construction permits for expansion projects, citing compliance issues. These moves weren't random. They were a warning. And that warning was clear. Tesla was no longer a welcome guest in China's electric vehicle revolution. South Korea followed suit. Seoul introduced new safety certification protocols for electric vehicles imported from the United States, creating non-tariff barriers that forced Tesla to halt deliveries, while it adapted to new inspection requirements. Korean agencies revised EV incentive structures, excluding brands that failed to meet National Supply Chain Contribution Standards, a definition that conveniently left Tesla out. Even worse, South Korea's powerful chaebol conglomerates, Hyundai and Kia, seized the opportunity. Government fleet contracts that once included Tesla were now redirected toward domestic manufacturers. Tesla found itself boxed out of the very deals that had previously secured its foothold in the region. China and Korea didn't need to scream. They simply closed the doors, one regulation at a time. And for a company built on global mobility and speed, that kind of bureaucratic warfare was a slow-motion death. With markets turning and prices soaring, Tesla's real foundation began to crack: its supply chain. Tesla's global supply chain breaks at every joint. Tesla's empire was never built on one nation. It was built on a spider web of global supply chains, precision engineered for cost efficiency and speed. But by the spring of 2025, that web was tearing apart, and no amount of Silicon Valley optimism could patch it. It began with raw materials: lithium from Australia, cobalt from the Congo, nickel from Indonesia. Each faced delays, inspections, or new export taxes. China, controlling a vast majority of global lithium refining, quietly rerouted shipments to domestic EV manufacturers. Tesla's battery contracts, once locked in with favorable pricing, were suddenly renegotiated or canceled entirely. Next came semiconductors. Taiwan and South Korea, under pressure from Trump-era geopolitical instability and regional retaliation, slowed exports of advanced chips to Tesla's U.S. factories. Delivery times doubled, then tripled. Tesla's chip-dependent production line became a choke point, unable to support even baseline manufacturing targets. Wiring harnesses and high-voltage connectors, typically sourced from low-cost hubs in Mexico and Eastern Europe, were caught in the crossfire of multiple tariffs. Importers faced overlapping fees from the U.S., retaliatory taxes from EU ports, and delays due to custom backlogs. Suppliers began missing deadlines. Assembly schedules slipped from just-in-time to just hope it shows up. The ripple effect was brutal. Tesla's procurement costs rose by as much as 25% across several core components. Shipping and logistics firms increased rates due to new border regulations and unpredictable processing times. Meanwhile, competitors like BYD and Volkswagen, who had vertically integrated more of their supply chains, stepped in to capture stranded customers. And the worst was yet to come. And without parts, factories fall silent. Manufacturing paralysis when the gigafactories go dark. By May of 2025, the silence inside Tesla's gigafactories was deafening. Giga Berlin, once Elon Musk's triumphant entry into the European industrial stage, had slowed to a crawl. Giga Texas saw partial shutdowns. Giga Nevada, choked by chip shortages and tariff-inflated raw material prices, laid off hundreds of workers across multiple departments. In local communities, the collapse was visceral. News outlets showed parking lots full of half-built Teslas. Inside the factories, entire production lines sat idle, waiting for wiring, chips, steel components, orders or guidance from a leadership team that had gone eerily quiet. In Germany, whistleblowers reported that management asked teams to maintain appearance for media visits, despite having no meaningful output for weeks. Union representatives in Europe demanded answers. In the United States, workers faced uncertainty as shifts were canceled, schedules reduced, and bonuses frozen. Once proud employees who believed they were building the future now found themselves caught in a corporate version of trench warfare, stuck between geopolitics and production quotas. And while the factories stumbled, demand plummeted, orders were canceled, delivery timelines stretched into months. Some Tesla stores stopped taking deposits altogether. In a cruel irony, the company that once boasted of month-long wait lists could no longer build what it had already promised. Tesla tried to shift more production to the United States, but it was too late. Domestic factories were already overextended and more expensive to operate. The margins were gone. The timeline was broken. The illusion of invincibility was shattered. The final blow came when analysts began calling it what it was. Not a production delay, but a manufacturing collapse. But the public wasn't done. Now the protests were coming. Protest chaos. Tesla factories become battlefields. By the spring of 2025, Tesla's crisis was no longer just financial. It had exploded into the streets. What began as consumer hesitation in Europe morphed into a global protest movement that engulfed Tesla factories, showrooms, and even delivery centers. In Berlin, protesters camped outside Giga Berlin with banners accusing Elon Musk of exploiting local workers while undermining European labor laws. In Paris, activists chained themselves to dealership doors, chanting slogans like "No more Musk madness" and "Buy European, not ego." What was once a futuristic brand had become a target of deep-seated frustration. The unrest was not limited to Europe. In the United States, Tesla factories in Austin and Sparks became focal points for labor walkouts. Workers frustrated with stagnant wages, increasing pressure, and Musk's erratic leadership began organizing strikes. Many accused management of ignoring the economic strain caused by rising production costs from tariffs, while failing to communicate any clear strategy. Union organizers, once dismissed as irrelevant in Tesla's Silicon Valley ethos, found renewed purpose and widespread support. Outside the Austin plant, banners read, "We built it, he burned it." Environmental groups added another layer to the chaos. Former allies of Tesla now turned against the company for what they saw as betrayal. Tesla promised clean energy for the people, not political chaos and global disruption. One protester told reporters during a demonstration in Brussels. Activists argued that Musk's personal politics, support of Donald Trump's tariffs, and anti-regulation rhetoric had undermined the very green ideals Tesla was built on. This wasn't isolated outrage. It was a coordinated backlash fueled by social media, labor networks, and cultural disillusionment. The protesters were not just angry. They felt betrayed by a brand they once believed in. And as crowds surged and chants echoed around Tesla facilities worldwide, the narrative shifted with them. The world was yelling, and the media had started to echo. The media turns Tesla from tech hero to corporate villain. Tesla's fall from grace wasn't just told in protests. It was cemented in headlines. Throughout the first half of 2025, the media that had once celebrated Elon Musk as the face of the future now led the charge in his public takedown. Major outlets that once heralded Tesla's innovation and disruption now published stories with headlines like "The Fall of a Visionary" and "Tesla's Brand is Beyond Repair." Tech blogs that once competed to praise every Tesla update now scrutinized every failure, from delayed software patches to quality control issues and safety complaints. What had changed? Everything. In the wake of Musk's political alignments, trade war fallout, and erratic public behavior, the media no longer viewed him as a maverick. He was now seen as a liability. Investigative reports emerged detailing union-busting practices, high turnover rates, and allegations of racial discrimination in Tesla factories. Industry watchdogs amplified reports of rising accident rates involving Tesla's driver assistance software and unresolved customer service claims. Influencers who once proudly showcased their Teslas on social media began turning away. Some sold their vehicles publicly in protest. Others posted videos accusing Musk of betraying the company's mission and losing touch with the people who helped build Tesla's cult following. "I didn't buy a Tesla to support a political circus," one viral post read. "I bought it because I believed in a better future. Now, I'll drive anything but." The reputational shift was not just damaging, it was foundational. Tesla was no longer positioned as the Apple of the auto world. It was becoming a cautionary tale of overreach, ego, and the collapse of credibility. Once you lose the press, you lose the public. And once you lose the public, you lose the market. And while Tesla lost the streets, it also lost the inside, its own people. Is Tesla's golden age over forever? With the dust still settling on one of the most dramatic corporate collapses in modern history, a single question echoes across the financial world: factory floors and freeways. Is Tesla's golden age over for good? The numbers alone are staggering. In just under 6 months, Tesla lost over $400 billion in market value. Its sales in Europe plummeted by more than 70%. Its brand perception score, once among the highest in the industry, dropped below that of legacy automakers once considered dinosaurs of innovation. Protests rocked its factories, Wall Street abandoned its stock, and global trade partners turned Tesla into a cautionary tale. Once the undisputed leader of the electric future, Tesla now finds itself outmaneuvered, outflanked, and out of favor. And yet, the story isn't over. Tesla still owns valuable infrastructure. It still has cutting-edge battery technology, a strong US customer base, and a global name. The question is whether any of that is enough. To recover, Tesla would need a massive overhaul, politically, operationally, and culturally. Elon Musk would need to rebuild international trust, stabilize leadership, and somehow reframe the company's mission to resonate with a fractured global audience. Some argue it's too late, that the damage is not just reputational, but psychological. That once you become a symbol of instability, you lose the very edge that made you special. Others believe Musk has pulled off miracles before, and that Tesla's collapse could be the setup for its most dramatic rebound yet. But whether you believe in a comeback or not, one thing is clear. This is no longer just about electric cars. It's about what happens when innovation collides with politics, and when personal ambition overpowers collective vision. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Can Tesla recover from this collapse? Or was this the fall of a titan disguised as a tech company? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because one way or another, the age of electric vehicles is changing, and Tesla may no longer be leading it.